Good morning. Good Monday morning to everyone. Welcome. For those of you on Facebook, I am sorry I don't know how to solve the problem. I did go and put the show right now to the public. I've written Facebook about it and they don't seem to care. So the best way to do it is to go over to my YouTube and watch it from there if you can't get on via Facebook. But I hope everyone had a good weekend. I did not have so much of an awesome weekend, but it's over. So I had my weekend was filled with pain. I didn't like that at all. But this is a new week. Today we have Mary. And I'll let Mary pronounce her last name so I don't butcher it. So when she gets on, I'll have her say it because I'm not even gonna try. Like I have a thought of what it might be, but you don't take the chance when you're not sure. So without further ado, I'll call her Mary Catherine. That way it'll be more like a Catholic thing. Here we go. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good morning, Marlon. You actually nailed it with Mary Catherine because That is what I am to my family. That is what I am in business.
Okay.
And my name is Mary Catherine Mahaffy.
Okay, so I was close. Close.
Just like half without the L.
Yes.
Mary Catherine Mahaffy.
Mahaffy. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So, guys, it's working today.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm so glad it's working today. I'm hoping that it continues the rest of the week because this is the last week. We only have till Friday, and then the Journey season 1 is going to be in the books. I don't know when season 2 is going to kick off. I have no. I'll let God figure that part out. I'm just going to wait and see. But in the meantime, welcome to the show. I'm going to give you a few minutes here, maybe a minute and a half, to give a short little rundown of your life. And then I'll pop back on and we'll have a discussion. All right?
Sounds good.
All you.
Okay. My name's Mary Catherine Mahaffy. I'm the oldest of 5 children, 3 girls, 2 boys. From immigrant parents from Ireland, Eddie and Mary. Grew up in Ireland, but they met here working at Horn and Hart Arts in Philadelphia. My parents had 5 of us in 6 years. I was really kind of like another parent in the house. That was actually a little bit of something that I had a hard time resolving later on, but we'll get into that later. I married my husband. We had 6 children and divorced after 23 years. And then I had a long time where I didn't date I didn't even date anyone, and married a second time. My children, I have 3 boys and 3 girls. I won't tell you their ages because then you'll probably figure out how old I am, but that's okay. 1 married, the rest have, I guess only one of them is not in a relationship. Everyone else is doing fine. I think that's it.
Awesome. That will work. We can go from there.
Good.
So you had mentioned marriages. How many of them?
So there's 6 children.
Mm-hmm.
I had them in 12 years. I had my first 3 in less than 3 years. So by the time I was 25, I had 3 under 3.
But how many marriages?
Only one. My baby is the only one who married.
No, in your life, and not in your kids, but for you.
What's that?
How many marriages have you had?
My second.
Okay, you've had 2.
Yes.
Okay. Growing up, you said you were the oldest. If you had to describe your childhood in positives or negatives, which one would prevail the most? Positive or the negative?
Probably negative.
Okay. And what would have made it that way?
Seen and not heard. Just a lot going on in our house. There were all ages of kids in 6 years. It was a busy household, and only so much that one parent could give to any one child.
were there any markers where you can define something extremely negative would have taken place that would completely colorize your entire childhood?
Yeah, the grooming of a neighbor, a sexual, well, an attempt at a sexual event, probably when I was around 7.
Okay. Have you ever faced that in your adult life, gone back to try and tackle that head on of what it actually did to you, or is it something that you kind of put in the background of your mind and say, yeah, it happened, but I don't deal with it?
I have to say there was several, and actually, yes, those got buried. I always felt that they were my fault, and yes, I have tackled them as an adult. My counselor would actually invite me to a 3-day event with the Seattle School here in Philly with Dan Allender. It rattled me, and it exposed a lot in me that I couldn't understand, and had to unpack with my counselor.
Do you think it created in you a stoic personality?
I'm a good faker. I will always present joyful and happy, even if I'm dealing with some deep sorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say so. I can tell you, Marlon, that a good bit of my life has been, well, I would say most of my life has been survival, emotionally, relationally, economically. I mean, I'm kind of there all the time.
Mm-hmm. Looking at your life from the outside in, would you consider that a healthy approach?
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Are you a problem solver, or
Oh,
do you
yeah.
normally go to people? Okay. So
Yeah.
if you were looking at your life from an outside as a problem solver, grabbing that one aspect of your life that you're looking at as a problem solver, would you consider that your life on your end as something you dealt with as a problem solving thing or a problem avoiding thing?
Oh, no, absolutely avoiding. I do others better.
Why is that?
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. I know I can help. I know I can help others. I don't know how to help myself. I really think that if I could have helped myself, I would have never found myself in a situation like that again, right?
Well,
Right.
maybe.
Mhm.
Is there a part of you that thinks that you deserve to not be um, problem solved?
I hope not, Marlon. I'm not really sure that I have thought that deeply about being asked a question like that I'm not really sure.
I So if you have not thought of it that way, can you truly say that you've tackled the history?
Maybe not.
Usually the why is something we like to harp on. Oh yeah, that happened because of that.
Right.
What we don't like to tackle is my response to the why.
Right.
And the response to the why we usually gets pushed to the back and says, well, that's not about why. I have to find out why this happened. And I'll go to the person that did this, but I will never want to tackle my response to the why and fix my response and how I see. I fix the hate that I have for myself, fix the blame I hold to myself, fix the shame I have on myself. I will fix the external. Yes, it happened and it shouldn't have happened. Case closed. That's where we leave it. That's how we consider facing something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's really facing it. I think that's identifying it. That's the first phase
Right.
of
Mm-hmm.
facing it, but that's just identifying and seeing where it started. Do you think that it affected your relationships with your husbands?
My second marriage or my first?
All of them. I mean, did that trauma play a part
Well, I would say.
in it? And when do you think when you tackled it, with your counselor, when would you say that you both agreed that you tackled it enough? Or have you gotten to that point?
I would say, yeah, I've wrapped it up with him. And I can say that I actually have confronted my ex-husband with some of what I shared with you. Well, actually, no, I did go to see him. It never spilled out that I knew what I knew, but I can tell you I went to authorities about it on behalf. Yeah.
So you've created a method of operation.
Mm-hmm.
And that operational method and mode is to go at things in a strategy-based arena where you almost deal with it like it's a business transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you deal with it as a business transaction, you don't have to involve the emotions.
Right.
And the problem with emotions is that once you open that gate, you're done.
Yeah.
In our minds, we're done, not realizing we just began. Okay, so let's go at it at a different angle here. So your children, you have 6, you said?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All of them adults.
Yes.
How are their lives compared to what you would consider your childhood?
Estranged from their father, limited, very limited access. They do not seek him, nor does he seek them out. Maureen just had her second baby a few days ago, and he's never met even the first. So it's really heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It's really heartbreaking. And I have to say, when I went to go meet him, I was telling him how brokenhearted I was for him. My oldest daughter doesn't speak to me, but I actually have wonderful relationships with my children. I don't even know how somebody could miss this. It's so wonderful. Like, I don't know how that's okay to forego.
It's as easy as you foregoing the relationship with your childhood self.
Wow.
It's that easy.
Right.
If something is wounding enough or something is painful enough, you will shut it out.
Yeah.
While you were dealing with your issues and on your end, heaven alone knows what his life was like that he may have shut out, that his children reminded him of, that grandchildren remind him of.
Mm-hmm.
So the same way you can lock out the things that happened to you as a child and it still affects your adult life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that easy. You may have gotten to a point where you can now interact with your children as adults and their children because you've separated the two.
Right.
That they're not you and they don't have the same. So now that's a whole nother life. I don't have to deal with me when I'm dealing with my kids. You've learned how to compartmentalize.
Right.
But compartmentalizing does not mean that you fully still love your grandchildren as in full as you could. For instance, if something happens, heaven forbid, that resembles your history, something tells me you'll have a very different approach to dealing with them. Mm-hmm. That may or may not require you dealing with you.
Right.
Now, you had told me backstage that emotional responses are things that you have either had a hard time with or just completely have removed or you're unable to engage in.
I am unable to cry.
A lot of the times we tell ourselves that, and that's what happens. Do you remember the last time you cried?
No, but I remember in counseling being told that I was crying at inappropriate times, like not over a sorrowful thing, but a happy thing, which is, kind of appropriate, right? Like, you can get moved to tears if you're
happy enough, yeah.
joyful, right? I just feel like I think this is what it is for me. If I were to start,
it won't stop.
And then that's a subliminal. That's a guess that's what my subliminal message is to myself.
Okay, well, let's take that and run with it. So what?
Yeah. So what?
What is the worst that could happen if you open that floodgate? You have what? I'll go on a limb and say you have at least 30 years worth of a dam built up. Okay. So it's a pretty tall dam, which means there's an awful lot of water behind it. Meanwhile, the canyon on the other side of the dam is in drought. I mean, it's just plain old desert, and it's been on drought for 30 years. And in your mind, well, if I cry, it'll be going on for forever. But there's a drought on the other side. It needs to be watered. It needs that water, and it could be displaced over a lifetime of wounds. I'm not saying that you have to cry.
No.
But weeping is something even Jesus did.
I know.
So I don't think we can put a negative effect on it, a negative twist on it. But at the same time, I understand why. That would be the case. It was that way for a little bit of time for myself. It's that way with my wife when she says, she doesn't want to touch her past because if I go there, the gates will not close. But I keep asking myself, why do we consider you could never have too much laughter? We say that.
Right.
You can't be too happy. But for some reason, when it comes to sorrow, we want to cut it off. We shouldn't have that much sorrow in it, but it's part of life. It's a healthy mix. I can't always be happy. It tells me that I don't care enough to feel sorrow. In your current marriage now, how would you describe the relationship?
Well, so I just found in July 6th that he divorced me last year in November. So I had no idea. I knew he was starting proceedings. I can tell you that our marriage was really void of emotional, physical, and spiritual intimacy. I knew a couple of weeks into our marriage, like I don't know where the person that I married went. I went for prayer like a year ago, Christmas, to my pastor who married us. And he began to tell me, if I told you, you wouldn't have believed me. And he was telling me that he did not tell me not to marry Michael because I would not have believed him. It's not really what I expected when I went up for prayer. I was quite devastated that we went in for counseling, premarital counseling, and we weren't brought back. Checked in on before he married us 5 months later. Instead, the day before our wedding, he said that we should choose somebody else to marry us, but never explained why. Michael said, if you're not well and you can't marry us, I understand, but we have people coming in from out of town, and he did, he married us. But that's the story of my 8-year marriage to my husband. It was really void of intimacy.
How long were you guys married?
8 years.
8 years. How much, I want to use that word, how much responsibility would you put on yourself for the demise of the relationship?
Maybe not seeing signs that were there to begin with. I would say maybe that, but gosh, I was busy trying to drag us to marriage enrichment, to, counseling. Michael even picked that counselor out. He was a pastor, and then Michael quit.
Were you emotionally available for those 8 years?
I was. At one point I said to him, could you just please talk to me or spend more than 15 minutes across the table from me? And he turned to me and said, I'll tell you what your problem is. Men don't talk. Find yourself some girlfriends. And that was that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Bible study in my home. I mean, he was here, but he wouldn't join.
You ever ask him why?
Yeah, it's not my thing. Yeah, it's not my thing. Okay.
No, I mean why he was the way he was.
Well, of course I did. At one point he felt he knew what happened to 2 of my children, and I think he's not even around to know that he was half right. But he read all the time. He would probably read maybe 4 books a week. And he said he did that to escape.
I was just about to say that's his escape.
Yes, and video games, of course. But he had a troubled childhood. Much of what he is not even aware of, but was made aware to me by, his siblings.
So 2 damaged people came together to try to create a whole
exactly
relationship.
Right. 2 damaged people. And as I got better, Michael said to me, I had said, I want to go address my child sexual abuse. And he said, sure, go ahead, do it. And then at one point he said to me, you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And actually what was happening was, as I started to heal, the chasm was greater between us. He spent more time in San Antonio by the time I asked him to leave than he did here. And I was hearing from people outside of our marriage. It was a repeat performance of my first marriage. It was the same thing I was experiencing in my first marriage. Same thing, Marlon.
So this healing that you said you experienced, what exactly did you heal from?
I would say that I started to have a voice. I couldn't even stick up for myself. I didn't spend 23 years in a marriage being trampled all over. My first marriage, the abuse wasn't about me anymore. It was about, he's doing this to the children too. You know what I mean? That's not the same situation as my second marriage, but it was like, it's not okay. It's not okay to be married and not, be experiencing what a marriage should be experiencing.
I assume that you know God, are a believer. Would I be correct in saying that? Okay.
Yes.
How is that walk doing?
Again, I'm not in church. I have not gone.
Yeah, that's inconsequential.
Okay.
I mean, how is your walk?
My walk is good.
Your walk is good?
It is.
What would you consider good?
Daily prayer. I have good relationships. I'm seeking God constantly.
Do you have regrets over the past and hurt over the past and stuff like that?
Of course I'm regretful. I mean, listen.
But I mean, is it? Are you carrying around any wounds right now from the past? You said you're not happy, and you said that you've been dealing with this for a long time. What exactly is that? What can you
It was very painful for me to ask my husband to go and get help. It never meant that I didn't want him to come back. He severed communication, told me only to communicate with him through email.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what can you do? Right?
Oh, there's tons you can do. I'm just trying to pinpoint what exactly you thought you could do.
I can't anymore fix for him. I can only fix for me what I have going on.
Okay.
I can only be there for him, walk with him through whatever it is. That's the first marriage, the second marriage. That's all I can do. But I can tell you, I've worked really hard to be a fixer. I do this.
An external fixer.
What's that?
An external fixer.
Yes. If I do this.
So your marriages, you said, let's take this most recent one. He didn't communicate a whole lot.
No.
But what would you want him to communicate about?
The same thing I would. My hopes, my desires, our families.
His past?
If he could.
Well, I'm not talking about whether he could or not. I'm just saying, what would you want to have from him? Would you want you want to know all of him, right?
I do want to know all of them.
All of the past, the future, all of it, right?
Well, he knew all of me, so I would certainly want the same.
Do you divulge all of that to God? Of yourself, I mean.
All of my stuff? Yeah.
All of it.
All of it. All of it.
Do you have any blame that you've put on God for your past?
I can tell you in the beginning of my Christian walk, I was not really getting or liking, yeah, he was there when that happened. That was hard for me. And yes, I was a Catholic till I became a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Undoing Catholic.
But
very hard.
But you didn't answer the question.
What? Have I blamed him for anything?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I blame him. I don't blame him for anything, Marlon. We live in a really broken world.
So why can't you cry?
I don't know why. And it doesn't help that I have a friend who tells me, don't worry about that. You don't need to. I don't believe that's true.
So, okay. How long have you known that you don't cry?
It's been years.
Years?
My husband's gone for 3 years.
And you have no idea why?
4 years.
You have no idea why?
No.
You've seen counselors about it?
I have.
And you've talked to pastors about it?
I have.
How, if you were to put years on it, how many years do you think you've given to finding out why you can't cry?
I think I'm probably thinking that I'm realizing right now what it is.
But how many years have you put towards it, do you think?
Probably 10 or 15 years.
How, and that's with about, bi-weekly, tri-weekly meetings with counselors and every Sunday, okay?
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, you're probably thinking about 8 years, maybe 7 years consistently, straight up, back-to-back time. Okay. How many hours do you think you put into asking God why you don't cry?
Not enough.
So you've trusted man to give you an answer as to why you don't cry more than you've trusted God about why you don't cry?
I would venture to say you're probably right.
And that's a good relationship?
No.
That's a great relationship?
No.
But that's how you branded your relationship with God.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say great. I did say good.
Is it? But is it good?
Yeah.
Is that how you would want your relationship with your husband to be?
No. Mm-mm.
For him to be going to everyone else about your relationship, but
Yeah.
not going to. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We like to say, oh, I've been getting help and I'm making breakthroughs because we go to a tangible source, man,
Right.
to get our answers about why we can't unblock something that only God can unblock.
Yeah.
And then we say, oh, because we're making headway in avoiding it, that is, I'm growing and I've crossed a chasm, and
Right.
my relationship with God is, He gave us a relationship in marriage and in family as an archetype, not as a
Mm-hmm.
separate analogy. It's an archetype of how His is.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back at your marriages and your children's upbringing, do you see any correlations between how your life was as a youth and your family to how you raised them and how life was? Like, do you see anything repeating itself?
I can say I don't know how to understand what's going on with my oldest daughter. The rest of my children, except for the one, they have been okay. I have to say that the biggest strain on them is not having their father in their life. We have good relationship. We do. My son just said, "Hey, family dinners. We need to do this again. We're not gathering enough." My family life with my children is different than what I grew up in. No, nobody talked growing up. Like, the TV came on the scene, and then we had a TV in the kitchen. We weren't even talking during meals anymore. My first economic decision when Mr. Hill left was the cable got cut. I've not had it since. We talked. We played games. We spent a lot of, one-on-one time together. We really did. My kids call me. They come around. I do the same. That's my greatest wealth, Marlon. I don't have anything else. I couldn't even do Christmas for them years ago. But I realized how unimportant that was anyway. That what we had going on in this house was paramount to anything else. We sat here when the electric was cut off, all kinds of things. But we had each other. We had good relationships. Doesn't mean that we didn't have heartbreak and hard times.
So I told my wife this before, and this is something I've asked God to get rid of for me for a long time, but He's not done it, and I know why. But I want to answer this one question first. Someone had a question of why is it that it's easy for people to fix others but impossible for them to fix themselves?
Right.
In my estimation, it's easier to fix an external source because you get to see the results faster. And you don't ever have to take the result home.
Right.
It's outside of you. It's something that you get to contribute to. It makes you feel good, and it's not something that you have to take home and worry about. That's why it's easier to do external stuff. So why it's also easier for most men to go fix someone else's pipe, but the honeydew list at home stays undone.
That's a good one.
Okay. I just want people to understand that's why.
Yeah.
We think, oh, it's my house. I can take my time with it. It's no
know.
different than the emotions. Okay. It's no different. It's my emotions. I can take care of that later. But you need to be happy. So I'm going to help you be happy. And that's what, so I've been asking God why is it that he decided to give me this empathic streak. It can be annoying. I'm not going to lie. And what I'm going to say, if you don't have a response to it, that's fine. But I'm going to step out on a limb and say some stuff Okay. If the limb breaks, it breaks. Okay. um, so I'm watching your face and your demeanor. Okay. And this is the first time we're having a face-to-face ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me where I'm wrong and how wrong I am. You can feel free to do that. Um, you have done a really, really, really exceptional job at keeping a very neutral tone to everything you do. There is no exaggerated laughter, and there is no exaggerated anger. Either one of those things will yield something you don't want, which we talked about, is that floodgate thing. The one place, though, that you can't hide any of those things at all, like you're doing a very, very poor job of hiding all of that in one location. I'll give you one guess where that one location is that you're really horrible at hiding it.
Tell me.
Your eyes.
My eyes.
I don't care how much makeup you put on it, how much eyeshadow you put on it, how much. I don't care how much you put on it. They're giving you away.
Yeah.
And what it's telling me is that you don't want to look inside. Looking inside only means that you're going to see all the stuff that you thought you buried, that you thought you got rid of, that you thought you dealt with, and it's still there because you have not given it 100% over to God.
Yeah.
You're afraid to do that because, like you said, doing that means that you have to face it, hold it, and hand it.
Yeah.
What you don't realize is that you're only holding it for that one instance of handing it over to him. You have a lot of pain that you wear in your eyes. It's an intense bit of sorrow that you wear there. It's not, when you smile, not even your eyes smile. I want you to understand that when you've been smiling this whole time, your eyes don't smile. Nothing of your eyes move. They've been stagnant this whole show. In none of the pictures I've seen do your eyes do any conveyance of the stuff that you want your face to portray.
Right.
And it's a picture of your life. Not a marriage, not children, not Christmas, not relationship, not calling all the time, not family dinners. None of that's going to do anything to enhance how you feel. It's not going to make a difference. You'll remain where you are. You'll remain feeling the way you're feeling. No matter how good you call the relationship with God, no matter how much you wish for the marriage to be better, it will never be, because you have yet to fully understand one main thing. That happiness is not a sensation, and tears do not define sorrow. Tears are there for release. Not saying that you have to cry, but purposefully and intentionally making it and saying to yourself, I don't, is not only telling God that he can't get to that spot, that he will never get to that spot. The bad side to that is this. If you consider yourself a follower of God, I'm going to paint a picture for you of where you are with your following. There's a long line, at least 30 years worth of people, and you're at the back. And you still think you're holding his hand. But you're holding his hand through 30 years of people.
Wow.
The effect that you're getting from whatever he is passing on is 30 years of people removed. He is only interested in one thing from you, one thing alone. And people have given me this analogy before about houses, and People always have one room that they hide the key to,
Yes. Mhm.
and they don't want God getting that key, and they think, oh, if I just hold on to that room, he can have the rest of me, and I can say to my life when I go through life, I followed God with all I had,
Right.
not realizing that's a lie. And then you also, so you're kind of defeating the whole purpose of walking.
Mhm.
You are in a location right now, spiritually and emotionally, where they're tied. You are now tethered to that child that you were,
Mhm.
and that one event is keeping everything about God at arm's distance. It's affected your marriages. It's affected your children's relationships.
Mhm.
Whether I can make anything superficial feel deep.
Right.
I can make anything superficial feel deep if I make it in my mind that it's deep. If I believe it is, it is. The same way you believe it's a good thing, it's not a good thing. Taking things to Him is different than taking it and leaving it. We don't like to leave it.
Mhm.
We like to hold on to it and say, see, I take this to Him every day.
Right.
I take my sins to God every day. Why? Why you keeping? First of all, why you keep going back every day for the same stuff you did yesterday? I thought you were supposed to left it there. That's the whole point, wasn't it? To leave it there, but you keep picking it back up and
Right.
wearing it as a badge of some sort that you have. That I've been through so much in my life, and I'm gonna keep telling people I've been through so much in my life. There's no but anymore. If you had 5 minutes to sit down with God, just you and Him in a room, knowing He knows everything already,
Mhm.
and all He wants to do is hear it from you, how would you go about telling Him the darkest part of your life?
Probably start by saying, I haven't trusted you enough to even lay it down.
Is He trustworthy?
He absolutely is.
Do you believe that though?
I do.
Or do you find yourself saying it hoping you'd believe it?
No. He was there. He was there, Marlon. He was there to begin with. He just wants to hear me say it.
You had 6 kids.
I do.
Were there times where you knew they were upset?
Absolutely.
Knew they were mad, not just mad but mad at you, or you knew exactly what was going on with them.
Absolutely.
And they said nothing and you just waited, and you wanted them to come and tell you so you could do just one thing. Just hold them. You weren't going to try and fix it. You weren't going to try and tell them, oh, it's okay that it happened. That's none of that. It was just to hold you, hold them, and know that, hey, thank you for telling me. I knew, but thank you for telling me.
Yeah.
It is zero difference. There is zero difference between what that happens and what you have to do. And that may happen in a closet. It may happen on a subway. It may happen on a bus. It may happen in the middle of Walmart. But you fighting it happening is like that kid getting up in your lap and saying it like this, well, today, and then gets off your lap. And then is still stewing about it in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes back 5 minutes later. Yeah, remember I told you that? Yeah, it's still bugging me. And then he gets off your lap again.
Mm-hmm.
And he does this for 30 years. And all you're doing is just waiting for him to come and just let it go.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're watching him suffer over this one ordeal. And he'll step out of his room and go hang out with his boys, and he'll be like, and then he comes back to his room to stew. You have been stewing.
Yeah.
And not crying isn't that you're trying to suppress the past. It's because you're trying to not hand it to God.
Oh, I think the very last thing I wrote to you yesterday was, I'm trying to find my way up into his lap, but only I can walk
You
myself.
just all you gotta do is put your hands up.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
toddler doesn't always have to climb up into my lap. My 7-year-old doesn't always have to climb up. He just has to come to me
And put
and puts his arm up. That's all he has to do, is offer himself up for me to pick him up, and it's done. He doesn't have to beg. He doesn't have to be like, but all I want. He doesn't have to say any of that. It's automatic for me to pick him
Yeah.
up. Your problem is you don't even put your hands up.
Sign language.
You don't even put your hands up.
Mhm.
Because you're afraid of what the resulting emotion is going to be. You're letting. I want you to put in your mind, since you're a fixer. Okay. You're allowing a leak in your kitchen to continue simply because you won't go over and turn off the water.
Mhm.
That's how easy to fix it. It's not even a broken pipe. You just turn off the water.
Right.
But you're all over the house looking at where this crack could be, and it's the faucet, it's on, the sink is overflowing, and you're looking through the house to think, oh my goodness, where could this crack? And you're looking at everything but the actual problem.
Mm-hmm.
And God's standing by the sink thinking, you realize the pipe's on? No? I'm not going to tell you the pipe's on. You should know the pipe is on. You're just trying to ignore it. The rest of your life from here on out, joy is hinging on your decisions about how you take things to Him.
Mm-hmm.
God has a crazy way of doing certain things, and people have a hard time letting Him do what He's got to do. That's one. But we also have a hard time understanding that He does not take. He waits for us to give it.
Yeah.
Because in the giving it to Him, it's a surrender. That's why He's asking us to surrender. He doesn't come and just take your stuff from you, take your pain. No. I have to give it up, because otherwise, I'll get mad. The same way I get mad if He doesn't intervene, I get mad when He does.
Mm-hmm.
Us handing it off to Him is not us having the power. It is us giving it up. We try to control the power by not giving anything to Him. You have kept this thing for 2 marriages and 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done a masterful job in your mind of being God.
Yes, I have, unfortunately.
You have such a good relationship with God that you have now become Him in your world.
Yeah.
So you basically are praying to yourself every time you talk. And that's pretty drastic.
It is drastic.
I don't know where He's going to break through at. I don't. I didn't expect it to be here, and I don't have no expectations. Like I told you backstage, there's no agenda on my end. I simply hear the stuff, and He just tells me where you're at. My only suggestion is that you be 100% honest with the man. And I mean 100% honest, including the thought that you have in your head of the question of why won't He let you cry.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't said that, but I'm pretty sure that's a question you have in your mind. Why hasn't He let you cry?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So you blame Him for not letting you cry.
No, I don't. No, I'm not blaming.
But you see, that's the thing. You don't want to say.
I feel like I'm controlling that.
But you don't want to say that. That's the thing.
Right.
You said He won't let you cry.
Yeah.
We don't want to put those terms on it because they're too, that's
How
too much.
dare you.
But it's too true.
Yeah.
It's too true. We don't want to say we blame Him for stuff. We don't want to say we hold Him in contempt of court. We don't want to say any of that thing to his face. We'll think it.
Right.
We'll hold it in our minds, not realizing he can see it all. Being brazenly honest with God is tough because we think, I can't say that to him, or I can't think that of him. But you are thinking it of him. Just you putting it in a term that that's palpable to you.
Right.
Okay. I can handle saying it like that, even though I mean this. I'm going to say it like that, and it's okay. You can be frank about it, because he'll be frank right back.
Right.
He doesn't sugarcoat anything, and maybe in his not sugarcoating is when it'll break.
No, I've actually, said to him, I don't know what's going to have to happen to break me. I hope it's not really bad. And these are the conversations I have. And
So is it not bad to not have a relationship with him properly? Is that not bad enough?
so part of my problem is being like, I don't know how to even be angry.
But that's not. But that wasn't the question. Is it not bad enough to not have a true relationship with God?
Yeah, it is
not.
bad enough.
Is that not as bad?
Absolutely is bad enough.
So you said that you don't know how bad it has to get. That, to me, that's as bad as it gets. When you think you have a good relationship and you don't.
You're right.
But that hasn't broken you.
No, it hasn't.
So then you have to evaluate whether or not the relationship with God is something you were even after.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reckoning that you have to come to terms with, whether or not you were really after a relationship with God or not.
Yeah.
The things I'm saying, it's not stuff I didn't go through. Okay, I fought with that man. I kicked and screamed, and I swore at him, and I got vehemently mad at God. Like, I was mad. I blamed him for everything.
Did you?
And some I didn't say and some I did say, but when I finally got to the point where I said all of it, I said it all. Literally, I blamed him for everything in my life that went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And absolved myself of every blame that I could think of. I only in this position because you did this, and this happened because you let that, and this. I went off. And it took him another 6 years to respond.
Wow.
He let me stew there for a bit. And when he finally responded, he responded in the most subtle, calm, I don't know how to describe and I said this a couple of shows ago, I was just going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Just going to work, 5:30 in the morning, going to work. And one song, and that was it. The song came on, and I was done. I was completely undone. I cried the whole way to work, most of the day, cried on the way home. He put the song on me the next day. The next day I cried to work and I cried home. But it finally broke past that whole blame game that I had inside, because I was finally able to see. I was in that place once I let it go to him, once I threw all my vile stuff at him. He didn't take his time for his sake. He took that time for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can work through what I said. And when he finally dumped that song on me, I was in a place that was able to receive it. The song was Jesus, We Love You. I don't know if you're familiar with that song. All things have passed away and your love is here to stay. That song.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you why that particular song broke me at that time, but it just hit at the time, right when it needed to, and that was it. That was my point. I had held back real tears for years.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finally let him go, and I said, I hate everything you did to me. Even though you were there, but you didn't do jack.
No.
Okay, and you let that happen, and you let this happen, and you let you. I had to realize he's big enough to handle all of my anger.
Mm-hmm.
He's big enough to sit there because he already knew it. He's been rummaging through my files the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just waiting for me to offload and tell him and hand it off.
Mm-hmm.
He's waiting for you to really offload it.
Yeah.
And when I say really offload it, I mean be honestly. Whatever anger you have with him, big or small,
Mm-hmm.
say it. Say it.
Yeah.
He is not small. He's not us. He's not man-made. He's
Mm-hmm.
not this soft, wussified God that you people try to push him out as. He's not any of that.
Yeah.
He's on the inside. He knows it all. He's waiting for you to say it. And what you can say cannot outweigh all he knows. Because you probably won't even do justice what you really think
Mm-hmm.
when you say it. But that's the beginning.
Yeah.
That is the absolute beginning of the relationship aspect of things. The same way you want your husband to be frank with you, and you want to be frank with you, or you want your children, it's the exact same thing he's
Yeah.
looking for from you. No doubt your life has been difficult.
I don't swear. No one's ever heard me swear. I don't think anyone's ever seen me angry. And my best friends don't even know that I'm divorced now. My dear friend Katie said to me last week, "You need to call Dave and get some counseling." I'm like, I can't tell my story anymore. I can't say it anymore. It doesn't change anything, like reiterating it. It's happened. It's in the past. There's nothing I can do about it. 5 of my children don't know I'm divorced yet. Barely getting over the knowledge of that right now. And I plastered my husband's closet walls with scripture, praying, just God, please save us. And I can hardly believe I'm here right now. And he's moved on, he's already has a new life, I'm in excruciating pain.
I can see it.
Yeah.
You're not doing a very good job of hiding.
No, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I probably have, more water weight that I could cry than I even contain in my body right now. And I know the chemical compounds of bitter tears and tears of joy. It's like poison in my body. And I've had friends convince me that's not important. Getting that out's not. I know it's important. It's haunting me.
Maybe your problem is you're putting too much emphasis on the act.
Maybe I am, Marlon.
The act.
But
it's not the act of crying that is important. It's the knowledge that you're trying to purposefully keep it from happening.
Yeah.
You have vested this view of tears as a weakness and a side of you that's not a fixing aspect. Crying doesn't fix anything.
No.
Because you've made yourself a fixer. Crying is not about fixing anything anyway. Crying is an acknowledgement. That's all it is. It's just acknowledging. But when you categorize it as a tool,
yes,
a fixing tool, and it's not necessary for the job you have at hand, you won't use it. It's not a tool. It's a result. Laughter is a result of a joke.
Yes.
I don't just go around laughing. That's insanity. I don't use laughter as a tool. Laughter is a result. Tears are a result. And the tears may not start because you realize something about you. It may be something that you realize about God.
Right.
It may be something you realize about God. You can't fix anything about God. You can't use a tool of tears as a fixer. It's a result. When I think about what he's done who he is, even if I don't think about his acts, put aside everything, his acts in my life. Just the contemplation of who he is enough to move me to tears.
Mm-hmm.
Because who he is immense. And who he is what pushed him and compelled him to do what he did. Because of who he is. And who he is also inviting me to be there. And that's big. And he's invited me to be there regardless of all the mess that I think I have been through.
Mm-hmm.
Because in him, none of that has any consequence. Not my upbringing, not my fatherhood, not my work history, not the sins I've done, the sins I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
They're all inconsequential because of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think of tears as a tool. They're just a result. And if it doesn't happen because of the result, you have to ask yourself whether or not you're purposefully not looking at it.
Yeah.
That when that happens, though, you'll know.
I will.
You'll know, because things will never be the same. Your whole aspect. Consider it's like you have a foggy glass right now, and you need some Windex, and that hasn't been used yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when that finally gets cleaned, you'll be amazed how clearly you can see. You'll be amazed. But this isn't about how you feel. This isn't about your history, about your marriage, about your kids. He's asking you to look at who he is.
Who he is.
And who he is alone. Not what he could do for you, but who he is. Because our time, at the end of time, is not saying what he's done. We won't be singing about what he's done. We're going to spend eternity singing about who he is.
Who he is. Mm-hmm. Worshiping him.
That is pretty profound, that we're not even going to be worried about the things he did, about the fact he defeated Satan, and we're just going to be singing about who he is. Which means he's trying to tell you now, that's should be your focus.
Right.
Focus on who he is, because who he is will change who you are. Who he is will change who you are. That's my prayer for you, is that you will let him reintroduce himself to you, and that you will come and meet him as he is, and just be in his presence. Just be. His request was you come and rest. That's it. Just rest.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you have to do. He doesn't ask you to come perfect. He doesn't ask you to come and bring an offering of something in order to get his love. His love compels you to bring the offering. You get the difference?
Yeah.
Our offering doesn't bring up his love. It doesn't conjure his love by our offering. Us realizing his love is what brings us to the offering table with our offering.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live a holy life because our holy life is what's going to yield godliness. Godliness yields a holy life.
Mm-hmm.
We've had it all backwards.
Yeah.
The reason my life can be lived perfect is not because I'm living a perfect life. It's because his perfect life is living in me.
Right.
There is a marked difference in the viewpoint. And that's what he wants you to know. It's a marked difference in how you have to view your history, your life, your current life. None of that. All of it is inconsequential to the relationship you need with him.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what relationship happened, how the marriage ended. None of that at this point matters. None of it. Daughter talking to you or not doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
He's asking you to come, sit, talk. Just you and him. About nothing other than you and him.
Right.
Okay? You and him.
That would be plenty. Believe me.
You can spend months there.
Probably more. there's a lot that I shoved to the back just, to push forward and survive. I just had a conversation with my son recently, and I probably made things look really easy, even when I was in the throes of some real hardship, just because I didn't want my children to worry. They were children. We had enough of that going on by the time their father left. And I just didn't want them to ever worry about having something to eat or milk to drink, and I'm really good at putting the smile on the face and everything's going to be fine. And I said it as many times as I needed to assure myself that that was the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And in the real world, it is. It probably did turn out fine. You probably had everything fixed. Like I said, the life we live here, there is a mess. His life that he's calling is here.
Yeah.
This is the result. Mm-hmm. This is.
Yeah.
You have joy to look forward to.
I do.
This is not, and I think the tears, when they do start flowing, they will not be sorrowful.
Mm-hmm.
I have a suspicion that when you do start to cry, it'll be a thank you for breaking that wall.
Yeah.
And you will not care how long you cry for.
Right. No, I won't.
Or who sees.
Mm-hmm.
Or who knows. Or who doesn't know. Because it won't be about them. It won't even be about you. It will not even be about you. It will be about him.
Mm-hmm.
Dead people don't care about themselves.
Right.
He asked us to die to self, didn't he?
Yes.
So dead people don't care about who is smelling their corpse.
Right.
It just is. Thank you for sharing your journey, because it's still ongoing.
Yes.
We all have an ongoing journey, but yours is in a special place, and it's a very good special place for this reason. You are about to encounter, for probably the first time, a face-to-face reckoning with the chief himself. And that is amazing. That's amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Can I tell you that I struggled with believing that I could possibly be in that place. I was a cantor in the Catholic Church, and when I left there and I was on the worship team in a non-denominational charismatic church, I couldn't even stand on the marble, and Patrick would say to me, "You're made for the marble." I'm like, it's haughty. I'm not worthy to be there. And that's
we're not.
probably the root of my problem.
And we're not, but we're not worthy. And that's the part where we realize it, that we are not worthy, and yet he's still asking you to come upon it.
And yet come.
We are nowhere near worthy, but he still wants us there.
I knew you were special the first time I heard you, and I consider it an honor and a joy to sit here and talk to you about some really deep issues of which you don't even know the half of, but you can be praying about.
Mm-hmm.
I have just a phenomenal family, and I feel like God has given me a gift beyond my wildest imagination. And to me, I feel like I'm living the dream, even though there's so much uncertainty in my life. I hope I can continue to, to reach out to you or keep you informed of my visit.
The experience you have with the fact that he gave you all this, that you consider you live a charmed life,
yes,
pales
Yeah.
absolutely is like a mite in
Mhm.
comparison to what you're about to experience. It
Thank you for being
it will be, you'll be like, you'll still be thankful, but it won't even be it won't be the crown.
right.
It won't be the crown. It might be a little jewel in your necklace, maybe,
Right.
compared to what he's about to do,
Hmm.
if you let him.
I told you before backstage that, your boldness is a blessing. And your boldness with me is a blessing as well. I appreciate your willingness to pick at me and tell me the truth. And I appreciate that so much. Your blessing, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And like I tell people, I'm just doing what he wants me to do.
So
I
good.
have I have not. I don't pre-plan any of this stuff. I don't ask him what to do beforehand.
Hmm.
I don't come in here with any idea what's going to take place.
Yeah.
Um, and what he does is always baffling to me, that he uses somebody like me to do that, what he's doing. Not negating my worth to him or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm amazed that he's using me
Hmm.
for this job, because it's not something I saw myself doing. But
Well,
when I let go of what I think I was going to do,
right. Hmm.
I, the man gonna do what the man gonna do, and
That's right.
however he do it, he do it.
Hmm.
It's gonna be great for you. I'm looking forward to the change that you will experience in your life. That switch is gonna be the light's gonna be so bright you're gonna be blinded by
Right.
it.
Well, that would be good.
It will be good. Trust me, it'll be good. Um, Thank you again for agreeing to do this.
You're welcome.
Um, I'll be hopefully getting this shared as many people out there. Share this as often as you can. Share it with as many people as you can, because there are more people going through this canyon and this blockage than you probably know. And you may share it to one person who's in the exact same spot and needs to hear it. So um, I pray the best for your journey, um, that the next steps actually do break through, and break through soon,
Me too.
because it'll be phenomenal. For those in the audience, thank you for your participation. Like I said, this is the final week of phase 1 of the journey. I'm not saying we're never doing the journey again. I'm just saying this is the end of the first phase. It's been a full month. If he prompts me for a part 2, it'll happen, and I'll open it up for people again to say yes or no if they want to do it. But in the meantime, as I always tell people, wisdom calls to you from the street. So please, please find wisdom. Peace.